am just going. Oh, and we are now recording in progress. So I am going to just quickly change my my handle there, my video name that it's showing, just so that I can set an example. So good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm pleased to be your first presenter on profit models. My name is Nick Kochar, and a little bit about me, just to give you some background for those of you who don't know me. So I'm part of the WESC team. I am a business advisor, and I see some of the names on who are joining us today. So I'm some of your business advisor. We have that relationship as well. So lovely to see some familiar faces. I bring to you about over 20 years of business strategy, branding, marketing experience. I'm also an entrepreneur myself. I'm a consultant. I work with a lot of businesses locally, Canadian and international. So a lot of the lessons that I'm going to share also are coming from lessons from the trenches. So definitely speak with experience on those things. So before we get started, I just have a couple participant prep requests. I just want to make sure you get the most out of this whole experience. So I often look to faces. I look to see your smiling faces, and those visual cues really help me get a sense of if I'm explaining things well or not. I think it's probably because I'm such a in-person type of a presenter. So maybe if it's possible, if you're able to keep your video on, that would be lovely. And no worries if you can't, or if you're concerned that your cat will make a guest appearance, that's totally fine. If you're uncomfortable sharing a video, that is okay. But if you can, that would be lovely to see you. Number two, also just the name that displays when you are what would that be called? Like just the name under your picture here in Zoom. If you're capable, if you're comfortable with it as well, maybe change it to first name, last name, and maybe even your company's name as well. It's kind of hard to engage if your username says Sofa Queen or Barstar 2012. I don't want to take away those titles from you, but it's just easier for us to engage if we actually know what your name is, and yeah, it just makes it easier for the whole session. Number three, also, if you're in a point where we're listening and not necessarily communicating, and you're not speaking, please, if you don't mind, mute your microphone. It's a lot easier to. Sometimes there's an echo, and we just want to try to avoid that echo as well. And there's nothing like thinking you're muted, and then all of a sudden your child comes up and says, "Hey, Mom, how come you're not wearing any bottoms today?" So anyway, you just want to make sure that yeah, you have your microphone muted as well. And let's use the chat box as well. Let's get comfortable with that. Since we are virtual, it can certainly help with our experience. We can do a little test just to see if it's working okay for you. Maybe just in the chat box, just say, "Hey, Nick." Hi, Nick. You can introduce yourself, and maybe even just tell me the best business advice that you've ever been given. Think of it as a bit of a precursor to the breakout room sessions, so that you get to know each other a little bit earlier. All right, so wanted to put that out there. I'm going to pull up the chat box here. So great. Okay, I'm seeing names and I'm seeing activities, so that's fantastic. Okay, well, let's move along then to the next part. I'm going to do my best to watch the chat box. If I'm missing some critical questions or if there's if somebody has a question that they want to ask, please feel free to stop me. I'm happy to respond to them right when we're in the actual conversation and sharing. All right. Okay, we're good. Let's go. Whoops. There. Okay. So here's our agenda for today. And I wanted to make this clear that there's quite a bit of content that's going to be shared today. So therefore, be advised that this content, all the content that I'm going to be sharing with you will be available to you. So you don't have to feel like you have to write absolutely everything down. And as we get going, you'll see why it's going to be difficult to try to capture absolutely everything. So just know that this will be made available to you after the fact. And especially when we get into the profit models, it might help, just maybe if you want to make a note of the name and think of an example to remind you what it means. I'm going to share a lot of content, as I mentioned, in record time. So I just really hope that the presentation style will leave you with a memorable way to recall the modules during the breakout sessions. Okay, so maybe just as long as you write down the name, or the name of the models, and then you just say, okay, what's an example as to how it's being presented? Let's roll with that. Okay. Okay, so let's get into it right away. I'm cognizant of the time, and before you know it, we're going to be flying pretty fast. So ultimately, business design is really how you grow your business, and you do that by focusing on the drivers of competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is really broken down into three areas when you think about business design and how you're going to grow and build your profitability. So three things that you want to know that business design can help you focus on. Business design gets its strength when we start to focus on our customers' current and emerging priorities. When you ask a person or you ask a business, so, what's your goal of your business? And then they say, well, my goal of my business is to make money. Yes, of course, we understand that. That is fundamental. We understand you're not volunteering. But the how do you actually do that? That comes from creating value, and we create value through understanding what your customers and their priorities look like. With great business design, we're able to link the drivers of competitive advantage. So really being able to connect the dots between the things and the decisions you make in your business and how they actually translate into business performance, which the ultimate report card being profitability. And the other reason why you want to make sure that your business design is thought out carefully is you can use it to leverage and to think about maybe how you grow at a business how you grow your business into the future. You might be using models or profit models that you didn't even know was called a profit model. As we get going, you might say, yeah, these things are working and have been working for me for the past, X years, but going forward, I may have to change the way I do things. This conversation in business design says to you, you know what, you need to consider that just the way you're doing things right now may not be the way you do things into the future. So, that's what I wanted to share with you about business design. And then we get into profit models. And really, profit models are taking ideas, philosophies, approaches, strategies, and turning them into action. So I'm about to share with you 22 business models. And the whole idea here is that you look at those and you say, next slide, which ones apply to me? So the outcomes of profit models in this conversation is I want you to think about these four questions. Which of the profit models I'm currently using right now? Which ones apply to me right now? What might my industry be using for profit models? So that means if I'm in a certain industry that really pushes hard on customizing material content for every single time I present. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a way to package it so you don't have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again or rebuilding the same materials over and over again. So we'll get into more examples in just a moment, but think about how your competitors are doing business in comparison to how you're doing business. Number three is in the next 90 days. So thinking about the profit models that we're about to talk about, which ones of them might actually help me? What should I focus on? What should I be paying attention to? Things that I should consider about the way I'm doing my business right now and any possible changes I might want to make. Number four, Profit models. Which ones should you take? Which ones should you lead and drive with? So meaning, if you recognize that you use a certain type of profit model, is it the best one for you? Is it the one that really grows your business and makes you flourish? So I had, whoops, where's my mouse here? Oh, there it is. Okay. So not so long ago, I was asked about the profit models and asking about, was asked, can you be flexible with them? So I said, what do you mean by flexible? And the comment was, I'm about to share with you 22 profit models. And you might say, okay, well, these ones I use, this one I use, this one I use. So can I just keep going through all 22 and just kind of periodically switch them up whenever I feel like I need to? So I thought about that and I said, okay, like flexibility. So you mean like, a bit like a nutrition plan or something? And I said, are you trying to say like almost like the flexibility as in if you were, say, following a nutrition plan and you were trying to incorporate a cheat day in, right? So 6 days of the week, you do things a certain way. And on the 7th day, you do things different, right? You take a break from your plan, your strategy. That sounds good, right? To have some flexibility into your schedule and flexibility into your plans, so you don't need to be too rigidly focused on these strategies. So I was thinking about that a little bit more, and I said, can you actually apply flexibility to these profit models? And I said to myself, geez, I don't know. Like, I don't think you can really take these models and keep changing them constantly. I understand the need to be able to be flexible with them, but you also need to sort of hunker down and pick a few that really make sense for you. So this is what I want you to take away from this. You're going to be shown 22 business profit models. Ultimately, the goal is to pick 3 and own them. And sometimes while you're looking at the different models, you might say, oh, I do a little bit of that, I do a little bit of this, but you will have a lot more strength if you take 3 of them and you say, those become the cornerstone of what I do. These are the ones that I really focus on. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's go talk about profit models. Okay, number 1. The customer solutions profit. This model asks the question and really drives your profit by understanding and knowing who your customer is. This is not to be understood. This is not supposed to be interpreted as, well, of course I know my customer. That's an obvious profit model. How would I not know what my customer is? This is you saying, look, I'm going to go do a deep dive. I'm going to go work with my client, with my customer. I'm going to learn how they run their business. I'm going to intimately understand how they do what they do. And then I'm going to come up with a set of products or services that are tailor-made to work with them. So it's very customized work. And with that example, what ends up happening is you spend a lot of time on the front end, and maybe you don't get paid as much for those. But the idea here is that you end up creating some products and solutions that you can then repackage and sell over and over and over again. Does that make sense? So it's a bit of a loss of money on the front end, but you make a lot of money in the long end, because once you've understood and you intimately understand what your clients are looking for, you take that knowledge, you repackage, and you can sell it over and over again. So study the customer, creating a custom solution set, potentially multiple services, but it's all anchored on your ability to develop relationships. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the switchboard profit model. This example, in this example, you're really the intermediary between buyers and sellers. So think eBay, think Kijiji, think shopping malls, think dating apps. Not everything has to be a technology, but those ones came to my mind first. So you're this power broker. You know people who are looking to buy things. People who are looking to sell things. Your strength becomes your ability to be the matchmaker. And so the more people that join your switchboard, the larger the margins you can command, because you're able to create that place where the transaction occurs. It's very difficult, for example, and I'm just random example I would like to share. Suppose you're a recruitment firm and someone comes to you and says, you know what, we're trying to hire for this particular role. And you say, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. And then you also say, yeah, all three of our candidates should be able to. We'll see which one of the three will work for you. Well, if you've only got a solution of three, it's going to be very difficult for you to make sure that you can satisfy and connect a lot of people. So in the same way, dating apps or technologies where buyers and sellers, someone's got something to sell, but the strength of using your platform really depends on how many people are willing to buy. So Switchboard is really, you're really the interface between connecting people together so that the margins can be commanded. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Right. Whoops. There. Okay. So the profit multiplier. This is a really great one. This is where you come up, you create an asset, you create some kind of a technology or a profit or a product, like a product, some sort of asset. You take it, you iterate it, you reuse it, you give it different forms. So here's an example. Walt Disney, the Disney company, does this really well. Take a pick of any of their movies. My example will be Lion King. So, sure, the movie comes out. Well, guess what happens after that? Now there's a Disney play. A Broadway play. There is lunchboxes, T-shirts, games, stuffed animals, like you name it. They have taken one concept and they have iterated it, reused it, recycled it into different forms. So what's that mean? Well, you get better profit because you're not reinventing the wheel. You've already created the characters, you've already created the concepts, and now you're just absolutely putting it out in every possible way. Blankets is another example, like just Lion King merchandise. You just imagine, right? And it's not just them. There's lots of other examples too, like maybe selling information online, right? Maybe you're either an aspiring or you're an accomplished presenter. Possibility, maybe you've got blogs, you've got white papers, you've got a book, you've got a video course, you're taking your content, but you're packaging it in multiple ways and generating profits from all of those different approaches. So maybe you're a profit multiplier, or you leverage profit multiplier model in your business. Let's move to the next one. Ooh. Having some difficult. Why can I not move? Oh, there we go. Okay. So the product pyramid. So this is not a pyramid scheme. What this is really trying to do is thinking more about catering to different levels of price sensitivity, and then offering a range of products and services that meet a different mix. So the example I'm going to use is Mattel and Barbie. Those franchises, I think, have really demonstrated what this one is all about. There was a time when the Barbie doll was priced at $20 to $30. But what was discovered was that the imitators and the competitors said, we can easily do a product for less than that money. So there was some risk in Barbie, in the brand being that other competitors would come in at a lower price and take the market. So what Barbie did was they priced their dolls at a lower price, so that stopped the competitors from seeing the opportunity to come in. And then what they did was that they said, okay, you can get into a Barbie, you can get the doll, you can get the products at a lower price, but now we're going to sell you accessories. Or has anybody, and I don't know if this is familiar to you, but like buying those doll houses. So you can get the doll at a lower price, but some of those add-ons are very, very pricey. So they know their whole strategy was to say, let's create a bit of a barrier or a firewall by making sure to come in and purchasing a Barbie doll, let's keep that at a low price so competitors are not incentivized to try to come in and compete. But once they come in and once we've really established our brand, then what we're going to do is we're going to start adding on these high profit add-ons that only the most fervent, passionate buyers will go ahead and spend that money to make sure that we go after getting we generate high profit from the top of that mix of low price, high volume, and then high price, low volume. So hence the reason why it's called a pyramid. Okay, and I'm going to move to the next one, which is the time profit. This is the classic first mover advantage. So you come up with something early, you do a lot of R&D, maybe lots of research, you come out with it first because everybody knows who you are and you came out with it first. Everybody, you put a price tag and people say, here's my money. You don't get to hold that position for a long time because competitors will come in and they'll start to say, oh, I see what you're doing. Maybe I can do that and I can do it for less money. Your advantage is that you brought it out first. So the high margin revenue is available to you, but it's there for only a period of time. At some point, the high margins start to disappear, and so you're in this mode where you're constantly reinventing. So as long as you're interested in and you're focused on continuous innovation, you're able to stay ahead of the competitors because everyone's always looking to say, I wonder what they're going to come up with next. So that's what the time profit, the time profit model looks like. Okay. So I've given you 5 models, and we are about to enter into our first breakout session. So the idea here is that take a look at profit solutions, customer solutions. So you are incredibly intimate with your customer. You know, you've spent time researching them to the point where you have a very customized solution. That does not mean that just because you say that's not really what I'm going to do, I now no longer care about my customer. Not at all. This is just saying, are you going to do a deep dive with your client or your customer and learn them intimately and create solutions based on what you learned? That's what it's asking, or what it's proposing. The switchboard profit. Are you an incredible matchmaker? Can you connect buyers and sellers together in a way that others cannot? And do you have your unique way of doing that? The profit multiplier. Are you Disney? Do you come out with a product and then you reshape it and repackage it in multiple ways and generate profit off of all of those different iterations? The product pyramid. You come out with a product to something you know others can imitate, so you keep the price and the margins low so it creates a bit of a barrier. And then as people become excited and look forward to being part of your brand fans get generated, you can start to sell them higher margin, lower volume products. And then the time profit model, which is simply you came out with things faster first, and people come to you because you're the only game in town who does what you do for a period of time. Okay, so there's 5 of 22. So we're going to take a pause. I've thrown a lot of information at you right away. And those 4 questions that I had asked you earlier to say, you know, which of these ones am I employing right now? You know, what does it look like in my industry? What might I do in the next 90 days? And looking to identify what's that model that I'm going to be leading my business with. Those are the 4 questions on the table. And let's go ahead and jump into the breakout rooms.
Nick, you're muted.
I just realized. Thanks for that. Yeah, every time I join a breakout room, it turns off my share, so I just had to turn back everything on. So I hope that was a good quick opportunity to reflect and think about the models. I'm gonna do 5, then I'm gonna do another 5, and then I'm gonna do 6, and then finally the final 6. So that's the overall plan. So one comment I want to make is that if you say, oh, that model, that's me for sure. Hang on, because you might actually discover that one of the ones that are upcoming, you would say, oh, actually, that's probably more me than one of the other ones. So, and then that comment I made at the start of it saying, you know, you will likely be a combination of three. Find your three that really work for you, and exploit them. Really, that's the goal at hand. Okay, so I'm going to move along to the next profit model. And it's the entrepreneurial profit. What this one talks about really is when you said there's got to be a better way. So you take a look at common sense, rational, profit-seeking activity. It's a little bit of saying the big machine is large and clunky, and I think there's a better way to do it when you focus on customer service, energy, efficiency. An example that comes to my mind is what Uber tried to do to the ride sharing world. You know, getting a taxi versus getting Uber. It really disrupted the market, and people really what they said was there's a better way to do this. There's a better model, and it wasn't as heavy and as onerous a task to do that, especially in larger centers. So entrepreneurial profit, yeah, that's you asking. There's got to be a better way, and let's serve our customer. Let's make it more efficient. That's the mindset of an entrepreneurial profit model. Multi-component. This is one where you have the same product, but it's technically it's actually several businesses, or multiple products, or a sales channel. So the example that comes to my mind is Coca-Cola. I sometimes pick on Coca-Cola just because it's part of Coca-Cola's in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I did my my education in business. So Coca-Cola is a great example because when you go to a store, like a grocery store to buy product, you get it in a pack of 12 cans, and it probably is a 33-cent can if you do the math. But then there's this convenience factor when suddenly you're in a building, and there's a vending machine, or maybe you're at a leisure center or something like that, and there's the vending machine. That 33-cent drink is no longer 33 cents. That drink is now $1.25 or $1.50 or maybe even $2 these days. My point is that now you're not simply paying for a can of Coke. What you're paying for is the convenience of a refreshment where you needed it most. And let's take that one step further. Let's think of something like going to a ball game or something like that. When that person comes down the through the steps in the stadium, and they're saying, "Hey, who wants a hot dog and who wants a Coke?" You think that Coke is 33 cents? Not even close. It's going to be like a $5 drink. And you know what? It's cold, and it hits the spot, and you're thinking, this is the best $5 I've ever spent on this drink. So the point of that is to say that you can have the same product, but you present it in multiple ways. That is a multi-component profit model. We see that in clothing stores too, where you've got three iterations of a company. I'm just thinking Old Navy, Gap, and for the life of me, I can't remember the higher end one. But the three, if you can remember.
Republic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so it's when you have similar products, but you label it and you brand it differently, and you present it in different ways to people. That is also an example of a multi-component profit. But my favorite example is certainly when you take the one product and you repackage it, or you put it through different distribution channels, and each of those channels have a different price point. Okay. Blockbuster profit. Okay, so this is when you say, let's go big time. Let's go big or go home. And what's the example of this? This is movies often do this. It's where you're looking for the big home run, and you market you R&D it, and you market it really, really hard. So what's the example? I know This season, in terms of movie land, I think Top Gun, that there was like a reboot of it, or it's part 2 or something like that. So the marketing was very, very aggressive, very aggressive. You can't go anywhere and not hear something about that movie. So really, really high, heavy efforts to make sure that absolutely everybody knows. Yep. Okay. And another example, about heavy R&D, maximizing chances of success, a big home run. You might all be familiar with this concept called COVID. It's kind of a big deal. And what happened was, we saw pharma companies really compete aggressively for this. We had Pfizer, we had AstraZeneca, we had many others, J&J. You take your pick of all the different flavors of the COVID vaccination that came out. So what ended up happening was they aggressively R&D'd very, very fast, and they also made a significant investment in marketing campaigns. There is a reason why AstraZeneca went from being a viable option to almost being blacklisted. And part of it had to do with the way that the marketing and the information was presented. So I'm just wanting to say here that when you think you're going to go for the big one, you think this is the one, this is going to put us on the map, that's when you're really talking about being going after a blockbuster profit model. Specialization profit. It is exactly what it looks like. So if you think about people who specialize in a certain area, the whole premise of it is like think of your GP might refer you to a specialist, right? For as an example, orthodontics or something like that. Lower cost through better knowledge. So you could do 10 things, but you choose to do 1 or 2 particularly well and arguably better than most. Part of the challenge with being the specialization profit is you actually then have to be really good at that particular piece. So you can't just say, well, I do 10 things. This one tends to make a lot of money, so why don't I just go ahead and focus on that and tell the world that I'm really good at it, and not be good at it? Well, that's not specialization. That's just you marketing. So what's that mean? When you're really good at something in particular, you can lower your cost through the better knowledge. Your reputation, you can people will start knowingly refer you to say, oh, you're not a generalist. If you need this particular thing, it's a no-brainer. Go see this person. That's an example of your using and leveraging that reputation because you are so specialized. Shorter selling cycles, meaning because you're the person that people choose, you just start that reputation wheel really works in your favor, and you can command high 20% higher margins potentially by being a specialist in your industry. We see this all the time in the market, and people get known for something, and once they're in that specialization mode, they generally don't get asked to do those other things. But then again, why do they even need to if they're really good at the 1 or 2 of the items that they chose to be amazing at? So that's specialization profit. Come on, there. Okay, installed base. And what this one talks about is you get known, you become your initial products and sales that you're offering are okay. Like you don't charge a lot necessarily to get your product out in the market, but it's those add-ons, it's those upgrades where the follow-up products and services is where you make your real money. We saw that in, for example, I don't know, for those of you who have ink cartridge printers, I mean, the days where they were practically giving them away for like $20 or $30 printers, but then when you wanted the ink cartridges, they were $90 per cartridge. Well, that's a perfect example of, you've already got the printer. Your sensitivity to the price mattered the most when they were making the decision as to what printer to buy. But then once you've bought it, your sensitivity went down a fair amount. It's a little bit like Gillette and shaving products where you'd get this super fancy handle, right, the Venus whatever, and then and you paid a certain amount, but then when you wanted blades or you wanted replacement cartridges, well, those were not exactly pennies. They cost money to have those components. So the point is it's the money, once you get someone into your ecosystem, you might have come in at a lower price, but that subsequent purchase, that's where you can make a lot more money. Okay, so we see it in many examples. And if you want, you're also welcome to put examples that come to your mind in the chat if that helps you remember as well. Okay, so here we are. We're at checkpoint number 2. So the entrepreneurial profit, that's you're asking, there's got to be a better way, and then bringing that better way to life. The multi-component, your Coca-Cola and your drink in the grocery store at 33 cents a can is a lot different than $5 per can at the ball game. The blockbuster profit, that's Pfizer. Like, that's where you say, let's go big, go big or go home. Specialization is you saying, I could do 10 things, but I know item number 8 better than anyone. And the world is acknowledging that I'm that good at this particular piece. And then an installed base is that once your customer buys your product or service at the entry point, the things after that become a lot easier to charge more, and they don't blink an eye. So there you have it. That's your next 5 profit models. To the breakout rooms, please do. Thank you. And just a quick comment. Sometimes the conversations in the breakout room are getting really juicy, and there's some follow-up opportunity for those who, if we don't quite finish some of the conversations that we're having in the breakout rooms, I'm happy to speak to these after the fact too. So maybe if you have questions and you didn't feel like you got enough time to flesh them out, don't hesitate to reach out after this session as well. I'm sure we'll be able to answer more questions for you. So
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, yep, you're welcome. Okay, so let's move on. I'm cognizant of the time, and I want to make sure we don't run out of it. Okay, so now we're on to specialty 11. So this time so the first 2 were sets of 5, and now I'm going to give you 6. So this is called specialty product. This is not saying, this is not lip service. This is you actually authentically, you're using higher quality materials, design. You're bringing something to your mix that is truly and authentically a higher ingredient, I guess, in your offering. So, and what you can do is, by doing that, you can certainly capitalize and get a lot more profitability until your competitors catch up. An example that just came to my mind is like the higher end ice cream. Can you get ice cream, basic ice cream? Of course you can. But then some of the brands that are out there will tout that their ingredients are superior, or it's done it's produced in a certain way that's superior. So it's a tricky place to be in, because whenever you say we're better, your competitors could say, yeah, but how come? Oh, you're doing that? Okay, well, we can do that too. So the profit lasts for a while, and you kind of have to continue to be in that, always looking for something new and finding that variation, that technique that sets you apart. So as long as you're willing to put that effort in, specialty product profit might be for you. The value chain position profit. This one is you taking a look at the different stages of a service. So if you're a specialist in technology or printers, for example, do you say, I do absolutely everything with printers? So first of all, are you the local Best Buy where you said, I do absolutely everything? You narrow that down to say, no, we focus on printers specifically. You can then narrow it down to say, but we're particularly good at the purchase, getting you the best one at the best price. Our knowledge may not be that great. In reverse, our knowledge is fantastic. We're not any cheaper, but because our knowledge is so good, you're going to come to us and you're going to end up buying from us. So value chain is really the old classic language that we use here. It's the profit, power, and control questions. So really asking yourself, understanding the whole process from what the customer is looking to having received it, and saying, but what's my role in that? There's 10 steps, but number 8 and number 9 we do particularly well, and that's how we focus. I sometimes think about like, for example, profitability. The example that came to mind is Apple and iTunes. So you may have an Apple product, which is great, and you've paid them your money, and that's the end. But then if you want to start engaging and having media, a lot of people will just say, well, I might as well just use iTunes. It's a control point, because without iTunes, you can't get digital content very easily into your device. So they know where the control point is, and then they exploit that. So that's just one example. So I hope that one made sense. De facto standard. It's an incredibly wonderful position to play when you are the one. It's simply you're the biggest, and therefore, because of your span of control, you automatically garner opportunities, revenues, that sort of thing, because the more who buy and choose you, your influence just becomes that much bigger. So being big is an option. Local leadership. That's where you are the star of Saskatoon, or you are the star of Spiritwood, or you are the star of whatever it is that wherever you live. Basically, people know who you are. You are the big fish in your pond, so to speak. So the more you end up the more you can command that visibility, being known, taking advantage of your area. You own a certain demographic, or you own a certain geographic location. You become that quote unquote local leader. And even though there's others who might do something that you do and maybe potentially do it as good, doesn't matter. You were the chosen one, because you are known in that community and everyone wants you. Cycle profit. Immediately, the example that comes to my mind in this one here is the good old travel industry, especially with things like hotels and travel as a whole. Is everyone aware of the concept of high season, low season? That is where the world knows that right around this time of the year, kids are getting closer and closer to being out of school, and vacations on everybody's mind. So that hotel that you were looking for, you were checking out in March to see what the price is. You can add a premium to that, because everybody else wants that place too, and so do you. So just the fact that the price went up, you're okay with it, because you know that you've got a select amount of time to go and take advantage of that trip before the fall comes, and so you are going to pay. We see that in airlines, we see that in hospitality, where there are cycles. To note, what's interesting about it is the company doesn't actually control the cycle. I mean, the last time I checked, airlines don't actually get to dictate when kids get off of school. But what they have done is said, we understand the cycle, and we will maximize our position within the cycle's grip. So it's there's days when I said, oh, it's annoying, the price went up so high as soon as the kids are actually ready to go on a vacation. But that's the model, that's how it works. So as the capacity tightens, companies will lead with higher prices. I've also wondered, as I sometimes think about the gas and the gas industry right now too. Have you ever noticed how when there's a price increase, how quickly the price shoots up? But then when there is seemingly an opportunity for the price to go back down, it just trickles slowly. Well, why go down and erode profitability when you can slow it down and say it's going to take a little time before we can get the price back down? So cycle profit, that's you really being aware, acutely aware of the cycles in our world. Brand profit. This one is really a very popular, common one. It's the one that the marketing industry really gravitates to, and it says build awareness, build your customer experience, and then that's how you and by having your brand well known, this is how you're going to generate revenue. So again, I have a Coke example there, but it's the same. It's the same. The premise of it is that you might be familiar with those taste testing experiences that happened in the past, where as soon as you know what the products are you're tasting, suddenly the one that you recognize, the brand that you've been bombarded with, suddenly that one just tastes so much better. But without knowing that, it's not necessarily a difference. So sometimes with brand, what ends up happening is if you can't differentiate yourself by being a superior product, if you can't differentiate and you don't intend to differentiate by being a cheaper product, sometimes what you say is, well, darn it, then we just got to get known and people need to know who we are, and we need to just be in that evoke set when people think of soda drinks, they'll think of Coke. But if they're thinking printers, they might think of your company. When they think of speakers, they think of someone else in particular. So getting known, and then as people get that experience, they start to say, oh yeah, I had a really good experience with so and so. Then the brand profit model is working in full effect for you. We are at our next checkpoint. That was 6. So again, specialty product. So leading with unique or more effective ingredients in what it is that you offer. The value chain is becoming very clear as to there's 10 steps, and I'm particularly good at number 1 or number 2, and I'm going to hold my line on that. De facto standard is you make profit because you are the go-to chosen product. That's the way everybody, the industry understands that when I think of tissue, I think of Kleenex, so I go buy Kleenex. The local leadership is you are the queen of Spiritwood. Cycle profit is hotel industries and airlines who know that there's more money to be made between July 1st and August 31st, and they're going to make sure that they get it. Brand profit is you're well known, that creates people willing to try you out, and then the people who try you out have good things to say, hopefully, and therefore your brand is working on your favor. There's 6 more to talk about. Great. Okay, so hopefully you are now in the thick of it and you are really saying, there are a lot of ways to make money. Well, which ones work for me? Don't answer that yet. We've got 6 more to share. Let's begin. Okay. So the transaction scale profit. This one is quite a simple one. It's where you basically say, if it's not enough money, I'm just not doing it. So what's the example? The one that comes to my mind is, the real estate agent who says, hey, if we're not selling houses over $1 million, you don't have my attention. So it's one of those things where you really sort of say that I'm turning away the small business and I'm only focusing on big business because perception that they have bigger, there's more profitability to be had. So that's the transaction scale business, profit model that can work. Sometimes we see that in other industries too. I do see it in ad agencies in the past where firms and tech and marketing companies are kind of get known that, oh, that firm only works with big clients, that sort of mindset. So you do see it. You do see it to present in different ways. So there's the bias towards the big business. The after sale profit. Again, so what this one is talking about is when people are making a decision. I'll maybe pick on cell phones for a moment. Do I go with an Android device? Do I go with an iPhone device? The price and the sensitivity is the highest at the start. But once you've cleared that barrier, people become a lot less sensitive in terms of the price. So once you've bought your phone, let's just say it's an iPhone, and then you maybe go to the store to pick up some earbuds, wireless sound. Quite often what you'll do is you'll say, oh, okay, let's take a look at these here. Here's one for $100. Oh, this one is an Apple one as well. It's 150 instead. Oh, but you know what? My main product is an Apple, so I might as well go get it. So the price sensitivity and the ability to make more money after you've cleared that first initial sticker price, you just find that they're less sensitive, and then they just continue to go with you. We see that in lots of different spaces. So I'll leave that one there. But insurance, sometimes you see that as well. Once you've found your company who you want to work with, at that point, sometimes people will just say, yeah, one package versus another. That's fine, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's after sale. New product profit. This is saying to you that so the book, the original context of these 22 profit models refers to a profit parabola, and we might all be more familiar with it from a bell curve perspective. So the idea here is that when you are coming up with a new concept and you're building it and you're marketing hard and you're trying to bring a product to life, there's lots of energy and excitement. But then if it's reaching a point where you can see that there is going to be a diminishing amount of demand for your product, before it hits the top of that offering, maybe you start pulling back some of your expenditures towards it. An example that comes to my mind is things like during COVID time, the masks. We saw a surge. We saw spikes in demand. You could look around local community or online. There are some pretty stunning masks that you could buy for a period of time. But now, as we start coming over that hump and we're getting to the point where the masks are certainly not mandatory, but moved to that more discretional category, I know that a lot of those mask makers are saying we're not going to try too hard to market as we used to, because we understand that the demand is starting to die off. And therefore, if we pumped a lot of money into promoting it, we wouldn't recover that. So we're better off just starting to recognize that once we seem to be hitting a certain point, it's better to jump off while the money was good and sell and move on to the next thing. So all about knowing or attempting to know when to jump off that new product solution that you're offering. Low-cost business design, it means exactly what it says. Driving your business growth by being a lower priced solution. Businesses that come to my mind right away is like things like the dollar store, the Dollarama's of the world, and all the other type of dollar centric, where it's all about trying to bring you the lowest price. And low cost itself doesn't mean that you need a huge market to be profitable. You definitely can be profitable, but it really depends on your ability to procure or produce products at a lower price. So your buying power is what really drives your power, your profitability in that scenario. Relative market share profit. This one also speaks to Companies with a higher market share tend to be more profitable. How come? Well, if you are a producer and you're manufacturing or you're creating some type of a product or service, generally speaking, scale, the more you buy, the bigger your operation is, your unit cost goes down significantly. B, greater purchasing clout. So if you go to your supplier and you say, I need 5 widgets, they'll tell you, and you say, what can you do for me? They'll tell you, well, the sticker price is $1, so I'll do it for you for $1. When you come to them and you say, did I say I want 5 units? No. I want 5,000 units. That's when they say, well, the sticker price is $1,000, but we'll $1, but we'll give it to you for a discount or a lower price. So your ability to be profitable when you have a high market share is it's certainly multifactored as well when you can drive your costs down. We see that in the larger manufacturing type companies as well. It's a common strategy. So relative market, and then the last one is the experience curve profit. It basically says that experience in serving the market and strong financial management drives down the transactional cost. So what we're saying here is the more more experience you have in an industry, in a space, the fact that you've been doing it for so long has an impact on your costs, and therefore you're able to make more profit. An example that comes to my mind is maybe there's a service offering, and typically if you were fresh out of school to do that service, it'll take you 4 hours to do. But you've done it for so long, you've done it for years and years, you can do it in 15 minutes. You know exactly what you need to focus on. So in that example, if you were on a fixed service fee to say, if you want me to solve this problem, it's $10,000. But with the expectation that it was going to take 4 hours and a whole bunch of equipment and materials. Well, if you can do it that same thing in 15 minutes, what did that do to your effective rate? Your actual price, your actual cost per hour. If you spent 15 minutes, but you were billing on something that typically takes people 4 hours, you make a lot of money. So hence the reason that the experience curve profit exists. You're simply driving up profitability because you're so good at the actual transaction. You can do it faster than anyone else can. Does that make sense? Okay, and so we're at checkpoint. Yes, checkpoint number 4. So back to our breakout rooms. Let's go and explore those last 6 profit models. Okay, so you are now, your head must be absolutely spinning with all of these wonderful 22 profit models that you absorbed in not quite 2 hours. So I would really encourage you to think about and reflect on them. I'm just gonna, as I provide you with some closing comments, once again, business design, leveraging and really exploiting your competitive advantage. The better you do it and the more you practice it, it leads to improved profitability. And you've been exposed now to these 22 profit models. I'm going to come back to the, oops, come on. Why is this not working? Oh, there. So to recap, 4 questions that we asked. Those questions really being about, the profit models that I'm currently employing. Maybe I should do them differently going forward. Maybe they made sense when I was starting my company, but they don't make sense anymore. Maybe they never made sense and I'm just coming to realize that. So one of the common threads of the conversations had today comes back to some of my initial comments regarding outcomes and saying, same conversation I had previously about do you dabble? Like, how do you find your three? How do you find your set? And what do you become flexible within them? And I think the answer is, you start to experiment with them, try things that work, don't try things. You're trying to find the set that really sort of resonates with you and can drive your profitability. I think the way I like to position this is, think of it almost a little bit like dating. When you're still trying to figure out what you're looking for and what makes the most sense and gives you the maximum experience for your that relationship, obviously there's different things to consider. Well, it's a lot easier to do that up front. Hopefully what ends up happening is you make your decision, you say, that's what I want to be, and you focus on it aggressively. It's a lot harder to be flexible once and really no need to be flexible once you find what you need and make that commitment. So that's what I'm going to say about those outcomes and making sure that having mouse issues here. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you've thought about those 4 questions in your journey. Lots to think, lots to absorb, and lots to take in. This material is going to be made available to you as well, so you didn't have to write a ton of notes. I'm hoping that really sheds some light on the different profit models. And I'm happy to have those conversations with you further if you need them. So just in terms of next steps, think about those questions, discuss with your cohort. If you have a West business advisor, have a conversation with them. If you don't have a business advisor, maybe you should. And that's all I have to say. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Nick. Is there any questions from anyone for Nick, or do you feel asked and answered?
I have one. Nick, I think you said this at the beginning and it just right over. Why 3 is the sweet spot?
It's because that's a great question, Laura, by the way. The reason why 3 is because it's attempting to try to create laser focus for you. If you bounce around too many, so I was holding off one of my example analogies, but I'll throw it at you anyway. If you need to make a commitment in order to really drive results. And if I picked a different industry, an entirely different topic, I started the conversation a little bit about talking about cheat days or cheat meals, that sort of thing. Can you apply that to another part of your life? Can you have a cheat day with your spouse? Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really work. It doesn't really translate. You sort of need to make a commitment and stick to it. So you want to lead with a dominant strategy. You want to have 2 that support you based on your industry and maybe based on a particular niche that you're trying to focus on. So as soon as you start to try to do too many all at once, then you don't become known for that particular profit. It's really hard to drive your profit when you're diluted, focusing on too many things all at once. That's what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? Okay.
Perfect. Any other questions?
I really like that comment and the insight there, Nick, to promote a laser focus. I had discussed in our cohort moving from multiple different modalities to more of a business scaling model. But I guess my concern there is when I hire new staff who are freshly graduated, that they'll still need to be able to offer that broad range of services in order to then become specialized. So is there a way to do both, to have some staff members who are specialized and some who are more generalist? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but I think the key for you as the business owner is to make sure you are crystal clear on what your focus is first, because that's what your brand's going to get attached to, and that's what you're going to get known for. So if you get known for being a specialty a service provider, you want to make sure that all indications out there in the market, the brand, and the way that you communicate suggests that you are an expert and you are a specialist in that space. The fact that you might have generalists on your team is fine, but you don't want to lead with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Hope that made sense.
Anyone else?
If I
Tammy.
can say something on that, yeah, because I agree with that, and I have the same situation where I bring in new staff from out of school, and I think I'm becoming very clear on this, that when I have the laser focused direction that I'm going, I need to like let them in on knowing where we are going. And my challenge has been holding them accountable to because people will say in an interview situation that they want to become this and that's their goal and but then they become complacent and don't have the same goals, directions to fast track and get there, because we are specialized as well. And then sometimes having those new people in there, they're not as trained, and I have to put them at a lower price point to bring them in and build them. But it's how to hold them accountable and make them clear and aware of the direction we're all going, because I want them where we're going. So
right. I completely agree with you. Just imagine. So the other side of the brand coin of brand awareness is brand erosion. And what ends up happening is if you start saying our experiences are second to none, we're so good at what we do, and then you keep pumping and pushing that message out into the market, but then you have a number of inexperienced individuals and potentially making mistakes, that sort of thing. It absolutely crushes and erodes the brand. So everything that you were saying, people don't believe it anymore. And then what ends up happening is you create a whole brand that you didn't even know that you were building, because simply you didn't fulfill and you didn't live up to the promise that you were trying to promote in the first place. So brand is fickle at times too. I mean, you really have to make sure that what you say is what you do. Like it's your promise. Right? There's lots of times when you see in the market where people will say, and businesses will say, our customer service is second to none. We are so good. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the example that says that? And you said, well, we picked up the phone. Well, that's not setting the bar. That's the minimum. That's not a brand point of differentiation at all. So really getting laser focused and saying, if we intend to be known for X, then we better, all experiences must suggest that X is true.
Perfect. Any more questions?
I'll just quickly mention that so I am an advisor here too at WESC. So if there are questions, I've left my contact information there too. If you're working with a business advisor, fantastic. But these are certainly questions, and if you want to explore these things, we can certainly have those conversations as well. Perfect.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, well, if there is no more questions, I want to thank Nick again for this amazing presentation. I know I enjoyed the one yesterday, I enjoyed the one today, so I know all you ladies enjoyed it as well. So I just wanted to take maybe 5 minutes to go over what's going to happen next. So the coursework for leveraging capital for growth will be released at the beginning of July. And for both of your cohorts, the monthly live session is going to take place on July 28th. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns about that, please reach out to me via email. And besides that, I hope everyone has a great day. The weather's beautiful. Go for a walk. I don't know, something fun.
Are they always from like 9 in the morning to?
Yes, 9 to 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there a
Perfect.
generalization, like it's 5 hours of work or it's 4 hours of prep, or is it different for every single month?
For each month, we anticipate around 4 to 6 hours to complete. Like it'll be the 2-hour session in there, and then depending on how quickly you work through that self-led learning module, but I would anticipate no more than 6 hours per month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording now.